It's an At the Office edition of the East Bank Sports Show, serving up the hottest sports takes from right here in Cleveland, Ohio. It's your hosts, Noah, John, and Erik.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into The Office, the podcast where we talk all things sports, and sometimes things not so sports. I'm your host, Erik, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, John and Noah. And you can join us at The Office, too. Send us a comment on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, or text the show at 216-250-1411. That's 216-250-1411. John, Noah, how are we tonight, fellas?
I am living life, man. I'm feeling good. Had our fantasy draft earlier today with you, actually, buddy, in case you forgot already. Feeling really good, though. Feeling really good. Excited to get into it with you boys.
And how do you feel about how your draft ended up? All three of us had a draft tonight.
Yes, we did.
I think I'm going for the ring. Year one in the work league with Erik, and I'm putting a ring on it. That's all I know.
That's those are some big aspirations there. John, how about you? How are you, and how did your league go?
Good too, man. I got first of all, the 7th grade Lakewood girls volleyball team got a big win today against Greenbrier Parma. Then we came back for the draft, shoved some dinner down my throat, and I did my thing, man. I got Mike Evans, Jamar Chase, Pittman at receiver. and Jared Allen at quarterback. I didn't go running back, so I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
Who's throwing to Mike Evans? Remind me.
Oh, good question.
More on that later.
Might his name be printed across my chest right now? I don't know.
All right, you guys ready to get into it?
I'm ready to do whatever you're ready for, Mr. Host of the day.
Hostess with the mostest. All right, well, let's get into 30-second takes. I want to hear what you guys think in just 30 seconds, because if you go over, you will be muted. The Guardians, that's what I want to talk about. Noah and I were at the Guardians game the other night, the 12-hour game, basically, because of the rain delay. We were one of the 26 fans that stuck it out to the bitter end, a game in which we lost, the third straight game in which we lost. However, we did come back today. So the question of the day is, are the Guardians contenders or pretenders? I'm going to put 30 seconds on the clock. Noah, since you're usually hosting us, I want you to go first. 30 seconds. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it. Yeah, so if you would have asked me this question last night while we were dealing with the rain delay, I would have said pretenders. After I watched them today rally back and win against the Kansas City Royals and take their definitive lead of the AL Central, they are very scary contenders in my mind. Scary not because I think they are competitive, scary because it is scary to watch them play baseball. It gives me a migraine at this point. That's my take.
All right, within perfect timing, too. John, 30 seconds. Let's hear what you think.
Yeah, my best answer is both. Are they contenders? Yeah, they have one of the best records in baseball. They keep beating teams. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be a high seed. So do they command respect, and do they have a shot? You bet. It's baseball. Once you start a 3, 5, 7-game series, anything can happen. That said, in a 7-game series, will the teams like the Yankees, who can pitch every pitch away from Jose Ramirez's hot spots, and when they have every scouting report ever, will we be in trouble? I think so.
Oh, he just got it in. I was clicking that mute button. I'll put 30 seconds up for myself. I don't know what to think at this point, honestly. I think when, like you said, John, when you're getting into the heart of a series and you're going to face some really good pitching down the stretch, and then I'm not sure that we just have the arms for it. I see us maybe getting past the first round. I do think we're a playoff team. I see us maybe getting past the first round. Who would have thought, though, that the Central this year would be the division to beat? I don't know what to think. I'm just going along for the ride.
I was so ready to mute you because I still have the power to mute you. I was so ready for it. So ready for it, my friend.
That's just wrong.
You'll be okay. Wrong. You'll be okay.
All right, gentlemen. Let's get into our first topic today. What do you think?
I'm ready for it. Let's do it.
So, John's jersey, which is not a printing mistake, he is wearing it backwards. John's jersey is indicative of our first topic, which is, would the Browns currently be better off had they kept Baker Mayfield. Now, this is kind of a hot debate topic. I think we've talked about it multiple times in the office, outside of the office. I kind of know where everyone stands, but let's start with John. John, would we be better right now, the Cleveland Browns, had we kept Baker Mayfield?
Would we be better? I'm not sure. Would we be better off? Yes. And that's the question. So I'm going to run with the latter.
Can't wait. I can't
think
wait
about the fact that no matter what happens, the general consensus is if we still had Baker Mayfield, we'd be about the same team. If we'd be about the same team and we'd be going into year 7 or 8 of consistent quarterback play for a franchise that has started like an MLB roster's worth of quarterbacks since 1999, yes, we played like 5 quarterbacks last year. Granted, everybody played well, but I would say that was despite the quarterback, not because of the quarterback.
Not everybody, but go on.
Until Joe Flacco got there. This is a slam dunk for me. Baker Mayfield had the grit. He had the tenacity. He knew the system. He worked through multiple coaches. He could play in the weather. I think he was just a better fit. And with Deshaun Watson still being a huge question mark for all of that money, if you could pull $250 million off the payroll and still have the same results on the field, I don't know how you say we're not better off with Baker, or how you would say we're better off now. So I'm a big Baker Mayfield fan. I loved it when we drafted him. I was in the movie a lot. I am admittedly biased because I thought he got the short end of the stick and took a ton of blame, most of which wasn't his fault. And then people got on his case because he quote unquote was whiny. Like, name me an NFL starting quarterback that's not whiny. I mean, the dude got the job done. He beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh in the playoffs. We were within a fraction of an inch and a couple bad calls of beating the Chiefs at Arrowhead to go to the AFC Championship game. Haven't sniffed it since. Yes, we were better when Baker Mayfield was quarterback, and we'd be better off if he were still here.
All right. Well, one quick thing before you go, Noah. I'm going to say
hold in the bull back.
No,
behind
I know,
the cage.
and
I'm ready
so
to go
for it. That's why I want to hold back a little more. No, I just want to say I have not heard Joe Burrow whine yet, so he might be the one. I'm just throwing it out there, but there are some. They're few and far between, but there are some. All right, Noah, I know your take, but let's hear it. Why is Baker Mayfield not the guy for Cleveland?
Why is Baker Mayfield not the guy for Cleveland? There is one instance in my mind when we were going through the whole offseason after the 2021 season that really just stuck out to me. And it is the fact that an article at that, and Mary Kay Cabot, which I like her writing for the most part. She's had some misses as of late, but, she's in the locker room. She's in the know of the Cleveland Browns. A single article about the Cleveland Browns being interested of going out to go get a quarterback, mind you, of the caliber that Deshaun Watson was and still potentially can be. He's not done with this contract. This experiment is not over. The fact that he then goes on Twitter like an emotional high schooler and posts a note app response of thank you for my time in Cleveland when you still have another year to be the Cleveland Browns quarterback. Get that drama off my roster. That is the stuff we have been trying to avoid since we moved in to the Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski era.
So
let me remind you something real quick too, because John, I'm going to remove your rose tinted glasses because I can see them from a mile away. I could see them before we even got on the show today.
Oh, he's
Baker Mayfield
in
2021. Baker Mayfield in 2021. We're not talking 2020. I'm glad he won us a playoff game. I was there. I was excited. I was a Baker Mayfield fan. That being said, 2021, 14 games played, 60% completion, 3,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, 13 picks, and a QBR of 40? And that guy's your answer still?
Can I ask
40?
a question?
Yeah,
I have a question. Since we're comparing an injured Baker Mayfield, what were the stats for Deshaun last year?
Thank you. Made my point for me, because the first thing the question was, is Baker Mayfield the savior of the universe? It's would we be better off? And we don't have anybody who's done it. Everybody who played well at quarterback last year doesn't play here anymore. for more than
That's not true. Deshaun Watson played good at quarterback for us last year.
Okay,
I have
you went from
one
good
more
to good
question.
for $800 trillion more dollars.
Why are you pocket watching an owner? Why do you care what Jimmy Haslam spends out of his own
For the
pocket? It doesn't
same
go
reason-
towards our salary cap.
Why are you Twitter watching a grown man? He asked you, are the Cleveland Browns
Why is
better
he acting
off?
like a child?
The question was, are the Cleveland Browns better off? And it took you 15 minutes to even get to football. You talked about Mary Kay Cabot and Twitter. You goddamn Gen Zer. That didn't
You
make sense.
never talked one thing stat. I at least brought up stats in my.
All right, gentlemen. I'm gonna pause that real quick. I do have one more question for Mr. Olson.
I'm ready.
And I think I find myself a little between the two of you, actually. But my question is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't you an OBJ fan? Didn't you like him here?
Sure did. Loved him.
Are you
No.
asking me?
Yeah,
I
you.
am asking you, Noah. Johnny,
No,
I
I
looked for
liked
you, but-
I liked the acquisition at first. I was the same mindset when the drama started coming out with him very early on.
Okay,
I did
fair.
like that. I did like the acquisition at first, 100%. I thought it made a lot of sense. Him and Jarvis, that whole thing. But yeah, no, not
Fair
after
enough.
it kind of turned into what it was.
You said
And as-
something that was like unequivocally false that I have to call out before we get to Eric's take. And you said what we've been trying to avoid is drama. What we've been trying to avoid is losing football games. And Baker Mayfield won a lot of them for a franchise that hadn't won many before. So that's the other thing that you said where I was just like, oh, are we trying to avoid drama? Because I'm pretty sure there was drama with Taylor Swift and Patrick Mahomes last year in Kansas City. Pretty sure Deflategate was dramatic. Pretty sure Belichick rubbed some
That's not
people
what
the
I
wrong
mean.
way.
You took that point the wrong way. What I
said
mean by
drama
drama
is
is
the thing we're trying to
locker
avoid.
room drama. The people like OBJ that Eric's bringing up. I'm talking locker room drama. If you want to talk drama, the quarterback we had now is not the quarterback to trade for. I'm not talking about media drama. I'm talking about locker room drama.
But could that not be figured out by the coach? I think we make a bigger deal out of locker room drama for people that aren't playing the game. Wait, put that back up.
I'm sorry, my bad.
So it says, let's be honest, Baker was a solid QB, but not good enough. Watson has been a horrible trade so far, but at least the front office is trying now.
But again, and that's a great call out. The question is, would the Browns be better off? Not would the Browns have won 70 Super Bowls? And if your thought is, yeah, Baker was good, not good enough, and now they're trying even though the guy sucks, you're on my side.
But that's not true.
All
The
right.
thought process of this question is, would the Browns be better off? I think the Browns would not be better off, period. I
Based
think
on
we've
what?
shown because what?
Based on what?
Based off of Martin Emerson being drafted, DeJuan Jones being drafted, Mike Hall, Zach Zinter, Jamari Thrash. I know I just jumped into that. Let me go into this for a second. Eric, I know you want to butt in with a point, so I'm trying to get this off quick.
No, you take your time, buddy.
I thought we would have the draft argument right away with the first round picks given up. To me, the picks have not mattered that much. You have drafted one starter in the 2022 NFL draft. There was Perion Winfrey in that draft as well. They didn't pan out with him for obvious reasons. You can't really do anything about that one. DeJuan Jones, who is going to be our starting right tackle for the foreseeable future, especially with Jack Conklin always hurt and the moving around of tackles that we've been seeing. And then I named 3 players, rookies this year, that could be in the very immediate term, depending on Mike Hall's attitude, depending on Zach Zinter, and his health, and Jamari Thrash making a name for himself. He did during the preseason, but we all know that doesn't count. Draft-wise, even here too, we are still drafting solid. You're still getting one starting player out of every draft, which was not something we were doing before.
That's fine.
Okay, that's like
but nobody said you're
it's like a
saying that
sunglass
they're
argument.
mutually exclusive. You could have Baker Mayfield and have drafted all those players and had a bunch more first round picks. You're saying all that stuff like it couldn't have happened if Baker were still our quarterback.
Right, but you're saying go ahead, Eric. I want to let you jump in for a second, man.
Because he doesn't have an answer. Go ahead.
No, I
Eric.
do have an answer. I could go all day. Watson is not.
There you go.
I'm not rooting for Watson. That's not the point here. I'm not defending Deshaun Watson. I want to preface that as well. Erik,
You have to defend Deshaun Watson. He's our starting quarterback now. And the question is, were we better with Baker? You're saying no. And Deshaun's your starter. You have to defend
Removing the drama from the locker room is the main thing here. That's the main thing to me.
Oh. And like
he had drama.
Wins,
he did not gel with the two-time coach of the year. He did not gel with the two-time coach of the year. NFL.
Right. Now I'm going to cut you guys off.
Go ahead.
So, ironically enough, the reasons that I like Baker are the exact reasons that Noah said he didn't like him. Baker's a fire kind of guy. Listen, as a Buckeye fan, I hated the freaking kid when he planted the flag at Ohio Stadium. But that's how he plays. He's passionate, and he gives you all of that and all of it to the city. By all accounts, when he was here, he was all about Cleveland. Whether he loved it or not, he was the guy, and he lived into that hype and persona and was that guy for us. I think Baker probably felt a little betrayed when it came out that we were looking to go after Watson. Those are human feelings, and I understand those feelings. Hold on, Noah. I gave you like 20 minutes.
I'm sorry.
I understand those feelings from Baker's perspective. Whatever he tweets in that moment, I don't really care about that at all. And to John's point, the question is, would the Browns be better off had we kept Baker? Here's the thing, and here's where I side a little bit with Noah. Do I think Baker was the guy? The answer is no. For the Browns, and in my opinion, we're really in this window where we say, okay, we have the talent and the roster to potentially vie for a title. And that's our ultimate goal, because it is Super Bowl or bust. The money doesn't matter. Sales don't necessarily matter. Yeah, all those things are great, and the Haslams want those things, but it's Super Bowl or bust. It's like Dan Gilbert with the Cavs. So if you ask ourselves at the time, can we win a Super Bowl with Baker Mayfield? I don't think that answer was ever yes. I still don't necessarily think that answer is yes. That said, defense can win championships. Stranger things have happened. Peyton Manning couldn't even throw a football anymore when he won with the Broncos. Who knows, right? But if you know that he's not the guy, and you have a window for players like Myles Garrett that is closing, your job is to do everything possible to go after that title. I don't want to touch on the personal life, the lawsuits, any of that. I'm talking strictly football. Deshaun Watson's ceiling has always been much higher than Baker Mayfield's. Now, will that ceiling ever be actualized? I don't know. It's not looking good, honestly. I'm worried as hell going into this Brown season with his injury history. He's already sitting for arm soreness.
That's not why he sat out of the game.
I'm sure that's nothing, but I'm worried about the guy staying healthy. And if he can't meet that ceiling, then yeah, it was a terrible trade. Obviously, we gave up the farm for this guy, but we gave it up knowing that there's a chance that he could be that guy. He could be that MVP guy and take us to the promised land. And if you're an ownership whose only goal is to win a Super Bowl, I don't disrespect the move of rolling the dice to try to go after that championship.
But the question
Let me paint you a picture real quick.
Critical piece of this entire thing, because I don't think that Baker Mayfield was the guy, hands down, to win a Super Bowl and to crown this team that we think is capable. The question again, for the record, is, would the Browns be better off? Not perfect, not in the Super Bowl. Would they be better off? You guys are running through all of this stuff about great, they took a chance, and great, they got a guy, and great, the ceiling's higher, and great, he makes more money, and great. None of that has come to fruition, and we are no closer to a Super Bowl than we were, and we are farther away from a wins column because we had a playoff win with Baker, and we were at Arrowhead fighting for our playoff lives still in the second round. We haven't sniffed that. We got our doors blown off by Houston last year. That's the only playoff appearance that we've had since Baker Mayfield left. So again, to the question, am I okay with the move? Because I am. Not does Deshaun have a higher ceiling? Because he does. Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay with a lights-out defense. Baker's better than Brad Johnson, and they got another Brad Johnson now in Baker Mayfield. You got a game manager who could stay healthy, who was endearing to the fans, who was a gamer, and with 5 more years of consistent play as opposed to this whole carousel that we started again, would the Cleveland Browns be better off if we'd have just left well enough alone today? Yes. It doesn't mean I think that we'd be a Super Bowl title winner for sure this year. Deshaun Watson hasn't done shit. He can't stay healthy. He can't throw half the time. He's sitting in street clothes in a loge looking disinterested, and he's making $250 million to not play.
Hold on,
Their
I gotta
argument
pause
is
you
we're
there.
better off now because
Hold on.
Wait,
Pause, because I want to go back to the streetwear looking board, because after he was hurt, he was on the sideline with a clipboard and an earpiece, so he was not in a sweet looking board.
Every game.
I want to tackle that.
Game.
He was hurt.
Mischaracterization.
Let me paint you a picture. No, I'm jumping in here.
Every game. It was when he was hurt, he was in a loge sitting on his ass, but that's fair. After he was fixed up, he was on the great. Okay, good point, guys. Our starting quarterback's on the sideline with a clipboard. That makes it different.
You guys are spicy today.
But you just made the argument that was a bad thing. So, but as soon as we prove you wrong, oh, good job, he's doing what he's supposed to do. Yeah, he is.
No, that's a dumb argument. And it's dumb of me to bring it up then. But him going from a loge to the sideline of the clipboard and an earpiece doesn't change anything.
Let me paint you a picture, both of you, for a second, because we're playing in this world of what ifs right now. Because the question is being so hyperfixated on would the Browns be better off if they kept Baker Mayfield? Let me paint you this picture. So there's unrest in the locker room about Baker Mayfield, his attitude, how he was clashing with two-time head coach Kevin Stefanski.
Winning cures everything. That was overblown, but go on.
Winning, okay, that's fantastic. Let's paint a picture here. We bring Baker Mayfield all disgruntled, and after he's had 13 Twitter spats and, whatever. I'm not going to get into that again. For year 5. And yeah, he's going to wake up feeling dangerous and all of that. And I want to preface this too by saying I was eating out of the palm of the hand too. I was eating that up, the woke up feeling dangerous, the good quarterback play.
What about the drums in the air tonight? I missed that.
Oh, yeah, of course. I still was doing that on the football field when it was a warm-up. Everybody does that. That's a thing. Regardless, you bring him back that year 5. It causes more of a riff in that locker room. You don't roll the dice. You go 8-9 again, or whatever it was. I think we went 6-10, 7-10 that year. And now you're looking at a guy who just 2 years later won Coach of the Year again, being fired for no reason. You're looking at us starting from scratch when we have guys like Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett. If you want to play in this what-if world, because we don't know what's happening with Deshaun Watson yet. He could be healthy and go for one of these years that we're talking about him when he was in Houston. We don't know that.
That's the whole point. You don't know. I painted.
But you don't know. You don't know if we. So we can all throw our hands up and say, "All right, this topic makes no sense because we don't know." Because I'm just giving you.
To Noah's point, John, though, the ceiling. Hold on. I'm talking now. Hold on. I'm talking.
Let me paint you a picture.
Let the host talk, man. Let the host talk.
You painted it. No, I'm not going to let any.
All right. John's muted.
Thank you.
So, since he won't let me talk, I don't even remember my damn point because you were talking over me.
It's because it was terrible.
Yeah. You don't be a Baker, bro. He does not know who you are.
Hold on, gentlemen. To Noah's point, though, and the point that you're so fixated on, John, the ceiling that we've seen Baker is one playoff win.
Right. It's a huge fucking deal. You're a Browns fan. Don't act like one playoff win is some.
I'm not saying it wasn't a big deal.
Deshaun has won playoff games too. If you're comparing apples to oranges.
Deshaun Watson won playoff games for another franchise 5 years ago. We're talking about a guy who was there the year before. We had a bad year since he left too.
I really thought your argument would hinge on the draft picks that we lost, because I think that is a solid argument.
That's just icing on the cake. That's just icing on the cake. We didn't even get into the draft picks. We were a better football team and more consistent with a better chance to win more games consistently with our consistently consistent quarterback. We had 5 starting quarterbacks last year and lost by 40 points in the playoffs. You guys are acting like we had a parade. What has been so good about what happened with this team since we got Deshaun Watson? Nothing. What have we done?
We had
Nothing.
a coach of the year.
We made the playoffs.
Oh, we got
We
coach
made
of
the
the year
playoffs.
last year.
The year
Bravo.
before that, we knew it was going to be a scratch as soon as we made that trade because he was going to get pushed for this season.
Come on
he
out,
did.
Cleveland. We're going to have a coach of the year parade down East 9th. Noah's going to be the goddamn grand marshal. It should be a great time.
Did Baker make the playoffs every year? Remind me.
No.
So
Baker,
what are we
I
talking
want to
about?
point out, Baker
has one
in
more playoff
2019. Baker in 2019 had a year where he had a QBR of 54, 22 touchdowns, and 21 picks, man.
So
He had one really good season. His rookie year, he was good. We're talking solid top 12 quarterback play. He had one season, still to this day, even including last year.
That's one more playoff win than we've gotten out of Deshaun. And the question is, were we better off with A or B? I'm going with A. You lost by 47 points or whatever it was.
In a game he didn't play.
In a game he didn't even play.
That has nothing to do
he?
with Deshaun Watson.
Yes, it does. Best ability is availability. No,
But I think that also has more to do with coaching that day.
Oh my God!
And
you
3
guys make
picks by
excuses all week to tell me that Deshaun Watson could be good in 2 years. I hope he is. The question is, were we better off then or now? I cannot understand how you guys feel better as Browns fans right now than you did when Baker.
I'm not saying I do. I said I kind of agree with you. I'd prefer Baker, but to say not even have the conversation that, oh, we're just better off because he had one playoff win.
Yeah,
That's an asinine argument too.
Mike Sando has an annual QB tier article that comes out, which interviews NFL coaches and executives. So the people making decisions, deciding what players are going to be on the field, who are the best players. Even to this year, ranking-wise, Deshaun Watson, number 18. Baker Mayfield, number 19. Even after last year, coaches and executives of the NFL are still saying, I'd rather have Deshaun Watson than Baker Mayfield.
it's one spot on a subjective list. You act like one was ranked 4 and one was ranked 31.
So I come at you with a statistic and a number, and it's just, it's subjective. Let's
Well, that's
throw
not
it
really
out.
Here's the statistic
statistic,
and a number. The question is, what's better? Is a 1 playoff win or 0 playoff wins better? It's the end of the discussion as far as I'm concerned.
Right now, if you want to compare apples to apples, we've had 2 years of Deshaun Watson. We have 4 years of Baker Mayfield with 1 playoff win. So Deshaun still deserves 2 more years before you can make that comparison, in my opinion.
Well, he's going to get him because you gave him the GDP of Nicaragua to play quarterback. So you're going to get to see 2 more years, Noah. I guarantee you that. My point is that they were better off with Baker.
I don't get why the money matters. Can you tell me why the money matters?
Because you could use it on other players that you need to build out a roster. Or you could use it.
The salary cap.
What?
It does not count to that. The whole $230 million do not go towards the salary cap.
It's just the 1 year of what you're paying him. But that's a huge number. His cap
It's not the whole 1 year. It's not the whole 1 year because most of it's guaranteed. It's coming out of Jimmy Haslam's escrow as opposed to the Browns salary cap. That's what a restructure is. All the stuff we do in the offseason.
Well, that's where bonuses and stuff. Not
signing bonuses come out of pocket, but the guaranteed money doesn't mean that it doesn't hit the cap. It just means that they can't pull it from him. It's a fully guaranteed contract. Doesn't mean none of it hits the cap because he didn't get it all in a signing bonus. I don't want to go crazy on cap rules, but you act like Deshaun Watson's not a big cap number this year. That is false.
Well, every quarterback is in that regard, but you're saying the GDP of Nicaragua, and it doesn't count as the GDP.
Let me ask one more question before we wrap this up. There's a lot of talk in baseball of paying for past performance. Meaning the Yankees, for example, they were notorious for always paying for guys that had put up crazy numbers, but weren't necessarily going to continue to do so. And they finally bucked that trend when they let Robbie Cano walk and go to Seattle years ago. My question to you guys is this. Do you feel like in that trade and in the money that we gave him that we were paying for past performance?
Yeah. Yeah, I think every contract is based on past performance. And
right, to an extent. But knowing he had sat out, I mean, is it a prudent decision?
He was also going to go to Deshaun was going to go to the Falcons. And it was almost a done deal, and Jimmy and D had to overpay just to get him to say yes to someplace else. Because I
Because
don't.
Baker Mayfield decided to be dramatic.
Yeah, that's not it.
I do want to
That's
put this up just to
100%.
say, Tim, you guys went to one Super Bowl. Let's calm down a little bit.
No. See, that's a bad take.
I'm kidding.
You
I
would
actually love Joe
kill.
Burrow, but
You would kill to go to one Super Bowl. That's the
well,
same thing you're
absolutely.
doing to Baker Mayfield's playoff win. You're poo-pooing it. But the question is,
I didn't poo-poo it at all.
You did. You said, hey, you're doing all this off of one playoff win. One playoff win is a big deal.
It was a big deal, absolutely. And it was one of the finest nights of my life. However, the goal is to win a Super Bowl. Anything short of that is a failure.
Wasn't the question. Didn't say is the goal to win a Super Bowl and would Baker get you a Super Bowl? The question is, are we better off with Baker?
I didn't say it was a question.
Not better
you said
off?
I poo-pooed it.
No.
Are you better off not being framed in a way where you think you can compete for a Super Bowl with a quarterback that is, again, with a higher ceiling?
Browns competed for a Super Bowl once with Baker Mayfield. They haven't even sniffed it with
Competing for a Super Bowl is not losing in the second round of the Chiefs.
I'm going to wrap this up, guys, because we need to move on.
Being 2 seconds away from the AFC Championship game is competing.
I'm going to wrap this up with the thought from Tim Lyons. First playoff win in 30 years and many more. Tim, one of my favorite stats that I used to love before you guys won that playoff is that prior to that, the Browns had a more recent playoff win than the Bengals, even with that terrible history. And I'm talking before that Steelers playoff win. But we can't say that anymore. So congratulations, buddy. Guys, I want to wrap this up. You know, the show started because we argued in the office Noah's terrible take that the Steelers coach Mike Tomlin is overrated. And I think this issue is more contentious than that one. Clearly, Noah is on one side, John is on the other, and I am squarely in the middle. So I think we need to move on and say that we agree to disagree. Anything else before we do that?
Still love you, John.
Oh man, it's all love. This is arguing with you guys about sports and having people listen and comment. It's like a dream come true. You're wrong as hell, but I would do this rather than almost anything else.
That would be Noah, Tim. Noah thinks Tomlin's overrated, just so you know. All right, guys. We are going to take a quick break, but stay tuned because we're previewing the upcoming Browns and Buckeye seasons. Hopefully, it'll be a little less contentious than what you just saw. We'll do that as soon as we're back. Hold on. And welcome back to At the Office. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us on YouTube. Check us out on Instagram and TikTok. Shout out to our partners, the Fanatical Elves and Fans First Sports. They have some great shows that you guys should check out as well. But right now, I want to get into our second topic of the evening. We're going to preview some football. We'll start with professional, and then we'll move our way into college. Specifically, the 2024 Cleveland Browns. What does this season look like? What are you guys expecting? Noah, do me a favor. Throw up the schedule for us. I want to take a look at this
right now
before we dive in. So here's the schedule. Obviously, some marquee matchups. Week 1 against Dallas, here in Cleveland, and Tom Brady making his professional broadcast debut. And then obviously the gauntlet that is the North. A couple more games that stick out to me. We have Philadelphia. New Orleans could be interesting. And then Miami towards the end of the season. So I want to hear all of your guys' thoughts, what you're expecting, what you're looking forward to, what you're questioning. Noah, you let us off on the last topic. No, John did. You're right. I apologize. John let us off on the last topic. So Noah, let's hear your season take. I bet it's more optimistic than John, so let's hear it.
Well, I think we should not be surprised because even though I was at a very negative place in terms of talking and yelling in the last segment, I am typically the optimistic person out of the three of us. So the Browns' opponents last season were a combined 158 and 131. So 158 wins, 131 losses. That comes out to a .547 winning percentage, which ranks number 1 against all the schedules in the league. So when you look at it in that light, we have the toughest schedule in the NFL. To me, that's all fine and dandy. you don't know what these teams are going to shape up like, what they're going to look like in the first 4, 5, 6 weeks of the NFL regular season. Anyway, teams boom, teams go, whatever. That being said, I kind of took this as a larger approach. I wanted to give my general thoughts so then we can debate it. My projected record, being optimistic and not just saying 17-0 like I say at the office all the time to piss people off. I say optimistically 12-5 with a loss to Baltimore, Philly, Steelers, Miami, or KC. Miami or KC. So one of those tougher games at the end of the schedule, and a fluke win or a fluke loss to someone like the Raiders, the Giants at the in the season, just because it's the NFL. But I'd like to hear what you guys have to say, so then we can debate it a little bit more.
Yeah, John, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not going to be as glass half empty as you guys think. I'm close to Noah. Noah, did you give a win total?
Yeah, I said 12-5 total.
12-5. Okay, so that's higher than I have, but I'm not. We're in the same neighborhood, I think. I love the schedule game with college football because you should be able to predict almost every game with the Buckeyes. I hate it, even though I love it, for the NFL, because 4 of the teams we think are going to suck are going to be good. 4 of the teams we think are going to be good are going to suck. And we're going to have injuries, and our division's tough. And it's just on any given Sunday, man, you just never know. That said, I'm looking at the schedule and looking at the big question mark at quarterback. It's like the tale of two cities in my mind. If somebody told me, hey, this team's going to win 5 or 6 games this year, going to struggle again, and this time next year we're not going to be sure about quarterback, hard to argue that could be an outcome. If you said this team is going to win 13 games, win the AFC North, and compete for a Super Bowl, hard to argue with that outcome. Last I looked, Vegas had the over-under at wins at 8.5. I always say men lie and women lie, but Vegas is dead on every time. And I think that over-under is about right. I got the Browns winning 9 games this season. It's a little optimistic. I'd take the over. I still think that's good enough for a wild card. Maybe 10. I got us in the playoffs, but I don't know. I know it's got 12 wins. I can't get us there, but I'm not pessimistic. It comes down
9 wins to me is pessimistic with the roster that we have.
We don't.
That's just me.
You're counting on quarterback play, and I love the optimism. But you said you're the eternal optimist.
Why do I have to count on quarterback play? I didn't have to count on quarterback play last year, and I think our backups are better this year.
Oh no, you counted on quarterback play last year. It just didn't come from Deshaun.
Right, and our backups this year are better.
You would take Jameis Winston's Crab Shack over Joe Flacco?
From the outside looking in, yeah.
Hold
Joe
on.
Flacco wasn't anything prior to.
Let's
Go
not
ahead.
disrespect our boy Jameis Winston with some of the best.
Eat some
Apart
W's,
from
man.
Abraham Lincoln, this man gives the best pregame speeches of all time. So let's put a little respect on my man's name.
If pregame speeches are going to get us 3 wins, then I'm with Noah. Give us 12.
Listen, he gave the speech of his life, even incorporating CC's Pizza, and then went out and had a dog of a game. But the man can talk. He's a leader.
Yeah, he can. This whole take that I have and the feeling and the energy about Baker and stuff, this is my team. Like, I'm rooting my ass off for Deshaun to stay healthy and play like he did in Houston. I hope like hell that if Jameis has to play, he's amazing. I'm just trying to be honest and objective. I don't know. I mean, I didn't say they're going to, win 6 games. I mean, in this division, 9 wins, maybe
9 wins. 9 wins, though?
Bingo to your last point, because that's my whole point in my season outlook is that, and I've said it a lot, but the AFC North is the toughest division in football, period. End of. Nothing comes close to it. Yep. I see a scenario where anybody can win the division, frankly. I see a scenario where all 3 of the 4 teams are making the playoffs. Like, anything can happen when it comes to this division. That said, I tend to, believe it or not, because you guys know me pretty well, I do tend to be overly optimistic when I'm looking at the schedule. I have it up now. I go, okay, week 1 against Dallas, win. Week 2 against Jacksonville, win. Week 3 against New York Giants, win. Against Vegas, win. Against Washington, win. And then against Philly, loss. So we start the season 5-1 in my head. That's probably not going to happen. There's no way.
Bring up the schedule again. Or
Yeah,
wait,
Of course, after I already pulled it down, I deleted it, so I can't. I'm sorry.
I'll pull it up. If you got to start in 5-1, I would probably disagree, but keep going.
No, there's no way. I agree. There's no
Oh,
way. I
okay.
just tend to look at it optimistically like
But
that.
when you look at it and you're just like, yeah, we would beat Dallas. Yeah, we would beat Jacksonville. We beat them last year. You know what I mean? I agree with you, Erik.
Exactly. There are
So I think we
each
even
game.
disagree on the skill level of some of these teams. I do not look at the Cowboys at home and say we would win that game.
I'm not saying it's guaranteed. I'm saying we can. Every single game on this schedule is we could win. What team's going to show up? Who's going to be better prepared? That's the question mark,
Our defense
right?
going to be our defense this year.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So looking at the schedule, I have a really hard time of saying either we're going to win X amount of games or we could completely miss the play. Like I have no idea. There's so much nuance involved in this season. It's one of the times going into a season where I have absolutely no idea how we're going to end up. Like zero clue. I'm confident in our team. I think we have one of the best rosters in football. I do think quarterback's a question mark. I know you disagree, Noah, but just knowing injury history.
I agree. I do agree.
But our line is shored back up again. Our line is healthy again. So hopefully that can help.
I have a line coach of all time.
I have a little bit of a question mark at running back. I know that seems crazy, but I still don't understand. I really think that that Stefanski has, maybe hatred's too strong of a word, but an extreme dislike of Kareem Hunt, because I don't understand why he didn't play him more last year. He was off the field in critical third down situations.
Can I jump in here real quick? Because I'm going to explain it for you. It came out, so we fired our running back coach at the end of the year, and granted, he caused some drama, went on a big media tear or whatever. But one of the things that came out and was kind of corroborated by some of these beat reporters after the season was that Kareem Hunt had an issue with being late to games, late to practices, falling asleep in meetings, some of the accountability stuff that you would want a guy who is of Kareem's stature at this point to not be doing anymore. Not be doing in general, but you would almost think of him as a leader being there through some of the highs and lows that we talked about in the last segment. So that's where
is that a terrible character trait of him? Absolutely. Do I want somebody like that on my team? Not necessarily. But if we're talking about a guy that is impactful, I want LeBron James on my team. If he's falling asleep in meetings but performing on the court, I don't know that I give a shit. And I get what you're saying, and I know that it's a locker room sport, but I've never really heard bad things about Kareem from other players. He seems like just a hype guy in general. He's high energy. I don't know. When you have a guy like that can make an impact, I'm still all for bring him back, sign him, make him our lead back until Chubb's back.
My mom's from Cincy. She's a Reds fan growing up, so she rooted for the Big Red Machine. And she said their manager, Sparky Anderson, walked in to spring training and was like, if your name is Pete Rose, Joe Morgan, or Johnny Bench, you can do whatever you want to. Everybody else, get in the weight room and let's get started. And
it's a fair point,
that's
right?
Good.
So true.
No,
that's so true.
If you're at the top of your game, you get a different treatment. And I'm not saying it's fair, but hey, that's just life. I don't know. I don't know what we're doing at running back is my main point. Chubb's not back until at least week 5. He's out at least 4 games.
I don't think he's playing until it would be the Philly game Philly game I think would be when he plays.
Let's call a spade a spade. I don't know what we're getting back with Chubb. Listen, the guy's come off knee injuries before. I love the guy. He is the heartbeat of Cleveland. But we need to be realistic in saying he might not be the same Chubb. I know his heart will be in it. I know he wants to be the guy. That doesn't mean he will be the guy. And that is one position where I really feel like we've been lacking in our front office and what we've been doing.
So the whole situation's tough because, you think Chubb's going to come back, and even 80% of Nick Chubb is still a fantastic starting quality running back in the NFL. The one thing I had difficulty understanding with your argument is when you're that guy, you're that guy. But was Kareem Hunt really ever that guy for us? I mean, maybe initially, but Chubb's always been back number one. I would never have called.
I agree. Chubb is number one, but hey, when you're on the 2-yard line and you need a guy to hit the hole as hard as MF and possible, I was handing it to Kareem, period. The dude just had a different level in his head, in my opinion. Not even close to Chubb.
Foreman was cut. My theory in the back end is that they cut him to keep a roster spot, to trade a quarterback to then re-sign him again. That's just me, especially because he's not on our practice squad when the practice squads came out today. But yes, Foreman was cut.
I think he'll be back as well.
When I boil it down to what it takes to win the AFC North and play in this division in December, it comes down to me. You got to run the ball. You got to stop the run. You got to get consistent quarterback play. And as great as our roster is, my hesitation is 2 of those 3 are question marks. I think our defense is locked and loaded. If I had a question mark at a position outside of quarterback, it would be running back. And then we have a question mark at quarterback. And that's why I can't get to 12 wins.
Wait, one more point you made, John, because you said we need to stop the run as well. We have struggled against the run now for several years. And we know one of our division rivals, Pittsburgh, they're going to have a healthy dose of running the ball down your throat. Let's face it. They're going to struggle at quarterback. They have a loaded defense, and they have a running back that is pretty unbelievable. So can we stop the run? I think Schwartz has taken steps towards that, but we've always been, and I love Owusu Koromoa's re-signing. I'm a big fan of the guy, and I think he's one of these guys that we talk about ceilings. He hasn't met his yet, but we've always kind of been weak at linebacker as a Browns team. We have incredible edge rushers, but we're weak at linebacker. What is our run defense going to look like, and are we going to be able to stop the run?
Well, you got to think we signed Hakeem Nicks too. We have additions there. Martin Emerson's good at helping with the run stop. That was one of his secondary strengths that I like that draft pick for. You know, we could go through and really break this down day by day, and I'd like to get to Ohio State in this episode too.
We are.
Oh, I know. I think 9 is criminally low for how good this roster is. But then you also think about it, and to your guys' credit, I mean, the AFC North is tough. It's a gauntlet. We could go 12-5 and maybe miss the playoffs. I don't know if the math would math on that, but you know what I mean. There was the 10-6 year.
Yeah, I'm with you. We go 12-5 and miss the playoffs. We could also, by the way, that's what I was saying too, Noah. There's a scenario where we win 9 games and make it.
Yeah,
I'm not saying
it's such a weird.
It's tough, man. To Joe Tim's Burrow point, twice, Lamar Jackson twice, Steelers defense twice. That's 6 games.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about Derrick Henry being on the Ravens.
Yeah,
blows my mind every time it comes back up. And thank you, Tim, for bringing that up. I go, my God, they did get Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
but Derrick Henry isn't the Derrick Henry, to be fair.
Yeah, and the last time Joe Burrow was healthy and clicking with Jamar Chase, all they did was make the Super Bowl. So let's not overlook Cincy because they stunk last year either.
No, I wouldn't overlook. I think their line isn't as stout, but when they made that Super Bowl run, he was getting the ball out, and I think it was 2.6 seconds. It was a short amount of time. Maybe it was less than that, 2.2, something like that. So he has the tools himself and the receiver core to get that done.
Yes, sir.
Pittsburgh. So all right, let me ask you guys this, and then we'll move on to college football. Where in the division do you put, like, how is it going to end up? You know, for me, I'm going to put Cleveland up top because, and I think we did this a little earlier, like a way too early kind of thing, but I'm going to put Cleveland up top for now. And then I'm going to put Baltimore, although realistically that's probably flipped. And then I'll go Pittsburgh and then Cincinnati.
You're going to get him hot in the comments right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm going to go. Ooh. So, yeah, I'll go Browns up top just because that's who I am. And I think that this is.
You guys are outrageous.
Hey, I said realistically Baltimore would probably be in that spot, but come on, let's indulge our fantasy for a minute. It's still before a game's been played. Let's be happy.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Normally I call you the cynical one. I'll put Browns up top.
I'm feeling good.
I'll put Baltimore number 2. I'll put Cincy number 3. All 3 of those teams making the playoffs. and
Pittsburgh
the Steelers
down
missed.
low.
Yeah,
But
I
I'm
do
talking
too.
like a 7-10, 8-9, 9-8 Pittsburgh misses the playoffs. I
Hold on,
still
you
think
just
they're going
said
to
a
be a
losing
formidable
record with a coach that has never had a losing record. Just
That's
keep
why
that in
I
mind
went
for a
between.
second.
That's why I went from 7 to 9. I gave it the
Okay.
leeway, even though I've been on the record saying Mike Tomlin is overrated. I do think they'll be the odd ones out. Just looking at it on paper with their quarterback situation, some of the things they've had going on for the last couple years, and that's not even me being a Pittsburgh hater as a Cleveland fan. That's just kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I don't think it makes me cynical. It just makes me a little bit more of a realist. It doesn't make me cynical to not say the Cleveland Browns are going to win this division. Put it that way. I got
Fair.
until somebody knocks them off their throne. I don't know what. Nothing's happened for me to not put Baltimore in the number one spot. So,
Do you not think that they have a similar quarterback situation in that, that Lamar has shown, the way he plays his game, he can get hurt just as easily as Deshaun, in my opinion.
yeah, but he's an MVP when he's not hurt, and Deshaun is TBD.
He was an MVP winner at one point, but
We're not going to go back to the first segment, but
Here we go.
All right. Let's end that now because
Deshaun Watson. Hold on, let me give you my AFC North because I only gave you the first team.
Oh, sorry.
But
Go for it.
Let's say the MVP is going to MVP and Baltimore is going to do what they've done for like 4 years in a row, which is win the division. I got Cincinnati and Cleveland with about the same record with 9 or 10 wins in the middle. I got Pittsburgh at the back of the pack, but still with a winning record. I got Baltimore winning like 12 games. Cleveland or Cincy 10, Cleveland or Cincy 9, Pittsburgh 9.
Okay. It's going to be a tough and interesting year. Now let's move on. I do want to talk college football, if you guys are good to move on, because as much as I'm looking forward to the Brown season, I might be looking even more forward. I don't know if that added up linguistically to the Buckeye season. Ohio State has come in as obviously a perennial favorite. They are stacked. But they're on a mission. They have lost to Michigan a few years in a row now. The seat for Ryan Day is warming up. And frankly, if he loses to Michigan again, which I don't foresee, he will be fired. Noah, let's do it the same way. Throw up that schedule for us. Here it is in all its glory. So we start against the mighty Akron, moving on against the ferocious Western Michigan. And then finally, with the very tough Marshall, and then getting into Big Ten play, Michigan State, Iowa, Oregon on October 12th. That's one to note. Nebraska, Penn State, at Penn State. I thought that was home.
No.
At Penn State. For some reason, I was thinking that whiteout was last year, but that is an interesting one as well. And Purdue, Northwestern, Indiana, and then, of course, ending with that team up north, as we always do on November 30th. I want to hear your guys' takes on this. This time, I know Noah went first last time. He looks like he's chomping the bit to jump in.
I just want to give the rundown that I gave down for the Browns season, so the win percentage, and then I'll let John go ahead. That's the only reason I'm asking to jump in real quick.
Granted, go ahead.
Cool. Buckeyes opponents last season were a combined 78 to 67. 78 wins, 67 losses. That comes out to a 5.538 winning percentage. Major additions this year, Caleb Downs from Alabama. Have something I want to talk about with him, but I'll get back to that so John can go. Will Howard, obviously, Kansas State, and Quinnipiac Judikins, Ole Miss, the 1-2 punch with Travion Henderson. Projected record, I'll get into after this. John, go ahead first.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about the Buckeyes this year. I think they have one of the best rosters that they've had in recent memory. The Urban Meyer team that came back after the national championship that we've talked about that actually lost to Michigan State was number one. And these guys haven't played yet, so I don't want to crowd anybody. But when I look at this schedule, it comes down to 3 games. It's a Big Ten schedule, but you're the 800-pound gorilla in the room. You got to play like it. Iowa at home could be dangerous. We always struggle with Iowa on the road. They play good defense. That's a weird game. But the 3 biggies are Michigan at the end of the
ranked
year.
This year, too, by the way. They're 25 right now.
Are they? All
Preseason ranked 25, yeah. They played Michigan in the Big Ten championship last year.
That's true. They did.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, that's the weaker side of the Big Ten. That's another conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
But they won it. But yeah, it's Penn State, it's Oregon, it's Michigan. We, I
You
don't see
really
us
think it's
losing it.
Michigan, by the way? I know they'll play us tough, but
Yeah, I mean, we're on a 3-game losing streak. You want to look past them again?
I'm not saying look past them at all, and I know they will play us tough, but this is not your granddad's Michigan, as they say. This is not Jim Harbaugh's Michigan.
I
But
know
go
there
on.
were some years where Ohio State wasn't your granddad's Ohio State. We went up there with Tressel and won games we weren't supposed to win, or we went up there with Urban and won games we weren't supposed to win.
The 1-2 game, I will always remember.
Yeah, it was the game of the century, man. That was an
By
amazing
far.
game.
Anyway, go
Unreal.
on.
They should have played it back for the national championship, but
I remember hoping, praying we would not have to play them again because it was so tight. And then, of course, we got the brakes beat off us by
spoiler
Florida.
alert, that would have been
Be careful what you wish for situation, certainly. All right, go on, John.
No. That's really it. It's those 3 games. I got us beating Penn State. I got us beating Oregon. I got us beating Michigan. I think we're going to run the table this year. But the good news is it's wide open. For the first time in a long time, if you come out and lay an egg in one of these early games, like let's say you lose to Oregon and lose to Penn State, national championship is fully on the table. We're just not going to play in the Big Ten championship game. Because the playoffs are so big, it's kind of wild. I mean, I'm not going to root for the Buckeyes to lose a game or two, but can you imagine that first round of playoff games is at the home of the higher seed? Can you imagine a home playoff game in the shoe? That would be so lit.
Crazy.
Insane. I want to say a couple
Florida
things.
State at Ohio State in 20 degrees. Oh my god!
You
I
think
want to
Florida
say
State's
it
making it
won't
after
be,
the
yeah,
Georgia
it won't be
Tech
Florida
loss?
State, but
No, they already lost.
I do want to say just a couple things before Noah gives his take. The question marks for me. So first of all, I do think that we are on a mission. We lured away a head coach, and not just any head coach, a head coach that's been to the national championship and was coaching a fairly big program in UCLA to become our offensive coordinator, not our head coach, our offensive coordinator. We are absolutely stacked. We've hit the transfer portal. Here are my question marks, just because we don't know. My question marks are, 1, quarterback. I think we're going to be okay here. I think Will Howard will be just fine. He played fine at Kansas State. The question for me is, for all intents and purposes, he is leaving that program, obviously for bigger and better lights, but also because that incoming kid was perhaps going to supplant him. That makes me a little nervous, but he did not have the weapons there that he will have here. It's a big difference and a big upgrade. And then the other question for me has been running back. I don't think this is a question. Obviously, we know who the guy is, right? And we know what he can do. But it post JK, I suppose, it's been a little bit of a weak spot for Ohio State. And I think part of that has been in the game planning. And it's going to be interesting how running back is incorporated. I don't mean weak spot in that it's terrible. We just had a couple years that...
Did you see my face?
Yeah, I did. There was a little bit of a lull, is what I'm saying. There was a big difference between Zeke Elliott and J.K. Dobbins, and then we moved on to... I'm blanking. That's my point.
Draymond Sermon.
Sermon and...
Travion
he was
Henderson.
not the guy.
Henderson.
But Travion is the guy, in my opinion.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins was dope too. I mean, I know.
No, for sure. I said Dobbins.
Yeah, but
my point being, and I think we're fine there.
Wasn't like great.
Yeah,
I'm trying to grasp at straws on where we could be weak, because I don't really see anywhere else on the field where we are weak. Where we were last year, and this is just facts. Offensive and defensive lines were questionable. They weren't questionable in the sense, our team was built to take on a Georgia, let's be frank. And we lost to Michigan 3 times in a row because they built their team to take on us. We lost in the trenches in those games. And that's what allowed Michigan's quarterback to go off. I don't think he's that great, but against us, he looked incredible because they really won the game in the trenches. I don't know what that looks like this year. But I got to tell you, I am a Day supporter and I am excited, and I think they are on a mission. And when I look at this schedule, I know it seems crazy. I have us going undefeated. Noah, give me your thoughts.
Yeah, man. I always feel weird because I feel like I always just think in my mind 12-0 Ohio State Buckeyes every year, just because they're one of those college football powerhouses.
The
right?
expectation, that's the standard, yeah.
Right. So I always put that in my mind. So what I wrote down, projected record, 12-0 or 11-1 with a loss to Oregon or Penn State, with Penn State being a whiteout game. Well, it's not a whiteout, but it's at Penn State.
Yeah, they do the whiteout.
It's a day game, I think. Because
Really?
Fox Big Noon Saturday, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Pause this conversation real quick, because the Fox Big Noon Saturday is one of the worst things to happen to college football. These marquee games should be at night. I'm sure it'll still be a whiteout, but that's terrible. Go on.
Oregon on there, Penn State, or a fluke loss like an Iowa or a Nebraska, one of those weird ones that happened like our natty year, first year of college football playoffs. I do think we pulled a big one over the team up north. Ryan Day gets that off of his slate just because I think they are in a pretty big retool year. I'm not trying to disrespect and get all hatred fanboy for Ohio State. I did also write down Big Ten champs. I think we win the Big Ten this year. Regardless of who we play in there, I think if we're at this 11-1, 12-0, we're going to be firing on all cylinders and ready for the college football playoffs, and to have that bye and to have the break and to go in and try to put a ring on some college kids' fingers.
Yeah, it's all lining up for us, man. Everybody who usually are the evil empires of the world seem to have quote unquote down years. I'm not looking at Alabama, Clemson, and Georgia and thinking they're unbeatable this year, which is good. And I'm looking at our roster and thinking this is one of the best. So it's lining up for us. You still got to go win the games. Yeah, quick side note, the whiteout game I think is the biggest game of the year for Penn State. And from a perspective of last year, Washington made the playoff and Ohio State didn't, and they host Washington this year. So I don't know if that's the whiteout game or not, but if I'm at Penn State, you can't just make it Ohio State every year because they're really good, or Ohio State, Michigan. Yeah. I'd probably do whiteout game for Washington. But
no, that
I think it might be, actually, from what I remember, just because I know Ohio State, Penn State is the Big Noon BS Fox game.
Can I get a little
good? The one year that they put Ohio State, the year that there was 1 versus number 2, they put Ohio State, Michigan at like 8 p.m. kickoff. Hated it. Ohio State
got to play it. I agree.
No, Ohio State, Michigan's 100% a noon game.
That game is noon. Can I get personal with you guys for a minute?
Always.
Oh God.
One of my biggest turn-ons in life.
Oh my God.
Bear with me. Is watching James Franklin lose to the Ohio State University and have to give his press conference after. I am not a James Franklin fan. I think he's a good coach, but I am not a fan. He's a whiny little bitch often, and it's one of the things I look forward to every year. And James, if you're watching, I can't wait to see it this year. I can't wait to hear your excuses. The referees, the fact that the sun was in your eyes, whatever it is, I can't wait.
Hey, listen, Penn State, we didn't talk about this yet. Maybe we will at some point this year. Teams like and programs like Penn State are the biggest beneficiary of the expanded playoff, because how many years has Penn State been undefeated except for Ohio State or Michigan and not made the Big Ten championship and not had a chance to play?
Almost every year.
The one-loss Penn State team that had what's the running back? Saquon Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
That team should have been in a playoff of some sort, and they just happened to lose to Ohio State in a close game.
Can I give a quick unpopular opinion?
Yes, do it.
Penn State football should not exist.
Oh, yeah, the Jerry Sandusky stuff.
Yes. The fact that happened, and the fact that their coach had known about it and maybe covered it up is a bit of a stretch, but they let that all marinate and try to sweep it under the rug, and that they still exist as a football program is absolutely criminal to me. If any school deserved the death penalty for its actions, it was Penn State football.
I don't think you can give any school the death penalty, but I get what you're saying.
It's a thing. It exists. I don't know that it's been used, but it is a thing.
Yeah, no, they gave SMU the death penalty back in the day. Doesn't happen often, but
interesting.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Think that both seasons, professional Tim, but I'm okay with Watson. I never said I was okay with Watson's personal things.
No.
I never claimed to be a Watson fan. And for the record, there were no or very well, no, I don't want to get into the details of Watson's cases because I'm just not as familiar, but I never claimed to be a fan. That said, I can tell you with 100% certainty that Watson was not raping children. So, based on that, your argument is null and void with me. That said, I am really, really looking forward to both college football and professional football this year. Both my teams are exciting to watch. I will be tuning in every single week. Weekends are dedicated to football. Our At the Office group chat will be lively as it always is. I enjoy
Crazy.
that.
A movie lit. I'm trying to be super Gen Z right now.
I know. Name something we don't know. I know all those things. Give another one.
Hey, you guys are both old, by the way. I didn't get
We
to do
are. We
So-
are old. All right, let's get to final thoughts and takes. I want to hear something hot, something spicy. Give it to me. John, you go first.
Oh boy, hot and spicy. My hot and spicy got all used up on Baker Mayfield in the first 40 minutes.
It sure did. Damn.
I'm,
Can I just say, by the way, this will be sponsored in the future by Cheez-Its Hot and Spicy. Hot and Spicy Takes by Cheez-Its.
You're trying to be like
if
you're trying to
Cordell
be like
could make it
Cordell,
happen,
right?
We can make it happen, baby. All right, go on, John.
You talked trash on OBJ earlier this episode. Cordell is not hooking
Shit,
us up
you're
with
right.
the cheese.
I didn't talk trash. I just asked if you were a fan.
Okay.
It's not a spicy take. It's just something that needs to be said. And it's way off topic, but I'm doing it because I have my 30 seconds. Politics is divisive. We're at a place as a country where everybody's flaming, burning, hot. Vote for who you vote for, but don't let it tire you out so much that you don't vote. Thank a vet. They fought and died for our right to get our asses off our couch and vote. So whether you love them or hate them or don't care or do care, do your research and vote. A lot of people put a lot on the line for you to have that right. So we got a while till the election season, but that was something top of mind. Rock the vote. It's your voice.
Noah?
Perfect. I love when John goes on these, deeper meaning, even if it isn't sports, because then I feel like I'm being immature by not like trying to go something to that level.
Yeah. Like complaining about
Especially-
mustard and steroids. Yeah, it is a little immature. Though.
Well, because the first thing I was going to say was my hot take was going to be me trolling and saying I miss the Baker Mayfield era, even though that was just me to stir the pot.
Jackass.
No, my hot, I do miss the Baker Mayfield era to an extent, but I'm happy of the era we're in. My hot take for the day, though, isn't really super hot. It's more of a personal hot take. So I don't know if you guys saw, but Beats did a big campaign with a bunch of college athletes, and I forget off the top of my head right now which Ohio State athlete it was that got it.
Oh, yeah.
It was Caleb Downs.
The Alabama transfer, yeah.
Yeah, Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs sent it out to all of his friends, family, well, all the players on the team. My hot take is that those beats should be available for purchase because I want a pair really bad. I saw them with the helmet stripe on it and the stars, and oh my god, I'd do anything for this.
Did you just say stars? They are Buckeyes, Noah.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, what in the what are you new?
There's literally the helmet. Look over my right shoulder. It's literally sitting there for you.
No, I know it's the Buckeyes. I definitely typoed out of my mouth, but
That's
whatever.
okay.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at in life right now is I want those headphones. I also have been on a kick of wanting to buy more football helmets to go with my Worcester one back here. But I'm trying to save money. So I'll leave it at that. Erik, I want to hear what you have to say, man.
All right. I will shadow what John said a little bit by doing my best Howard Dean impersonation. Noah, you're a little young. I think you were around 4 years old when he screamed during the Iowa caucuses and basically ended his political career. But I'm going to be optimistic today. And I'm going to say that your Ohio State Buckeyes are going to win the national championship. The Browns are going to the playoffs. I can't get excited enough to say win a Super Bowl, but they're gonna go far. Yo! That's my hot take today.
That's
And we're gonna go to
gentlemen.
Pittsburgh, and we're gonna go to Baltimore. We're gonna go to Cincinnati.
Gentlemen,
I know what you're talking. Like, obviously, I was 3. I looked it up, by the way. I was 3 when that happened. But I know what you're talking about. That was fantastic, Erik. That's a great way to wrap
lost
up
his
the show.
mind. Oh, that's great.
every time we do a show, which is weekly, it gets better. And Tim, did a cat get
Did a
stepped
cat
on?
get stepped
Possibly.
on?
Every time we do a show, I have a ton of fun with you guys. It's one of the highlights of my week. And because of that, I will be on vacation next week, viewers, but we are going to do a show. I will be live from the Outer Banks. I'm going to try to set it up where you can get some beachy in the background, but we do this at night, so that might not work.
So he's trying to flex on all of us and be like, I'm at vacation, John. And
No,
Noah,
I'm
you have
trying
to
to
go to work
say
in a couple hours.
I'm more dedicated than John, who goes on vacation and makes us take a week off. I want to hang out with my boys next week, and it's going to be the night before football starts.
It's not that I didn't want to hang out with my boys. It's that I have 4 little ones in my car who also are depending on me, and I couldn't make it happen.
Well, that's fair. I will say I apologize ahead of time if I am inebriated or if anybody else shows up in the frame while I'm on vacation. But we will be live and we will have a show next week. Anything that you guys want to add before we wrap it up?
Just
Appreciate you guys
want
listening.
to give you props. You did a great job hosting. This was a good time, man.
Thank you, sir. I enjoyed playing host to your guys. You guys were vehement today, and
That
I
was
loved it.
It was a perfect episode, honestly, for you to take the hosting reins, because I did, without us even knowing, I didn't know how opposite me and John were going to be on this. So
I
on the
was
Baker
not
Mayfield
expecting
topic.
that, I will say.
No,
All right.
me neither.
This was At the Office, an edition of the East Bank Sports Show. We appreciate you viewers for watching, and catch us next week when we bring you an even better show. Later.